in this unit, we're talking about probability and simulation. So you guys have a kind of a basic understanding of probability in that we've talked about, I know on our benchmarks for sure, about, you know, what are the odds of flipping a coin and all of that good stuff. Well, just to kind of, as a refresher, we're going to be looking at the basic principles of probability. Again, this is just a refresher, just to make sure that we know the terminology, the lingo, just as a refresher. Okay, so when we have an experiment versus an outcome. An experiment is a situation that has several possible results. The outcome are these results. So when we're looking at probability, the number of outcomes in an event over the number of outcomes in the sample space. Sorry, I didn't think about this, but I should have done sample space vocab first, but that's okay. So a sample base is a set of possible outcomes of an experiment. So for instance, I know the lingo kind of makes it harder than really what it is. If I want to know the probability of flipping a coin and getting a heads, okay? So if I'm looking at the probability of flipping a coin and getting a heads, I know that my possible options are heads, tails, tail heads, and tail tails. So there are 4 possible outcomes. And I want specifically the heads, which only occurs once. So our probability then is 1/4. We also have the term fair or unbiased. So technically, when I'm looking at what's the probability of a heads, or what's the probability of a heads, tails, or tails, heads, or tails, tails, those all have a probability of 1/4. So this is what we call fair or unbiased. This is when each outcome has a probability of 1/n. Okay. Another vocab term is a relative frequency. So we know based on one variable statistics that frequency is the number of times that something happens. A relative frequency, this is our experimental probability. This is, okay, when we actually do the experiment, say 1,000 times, if I flip a coin, it wasn't exactly 1/2. It was 48%. Okay, so this is probability from an experiment occurring a lot. So like I said, example, flipping a coin and getting the heads. Should be 1/2. This is our theoretical probability. But our relative frequency was, let's say, 1,210 over 2,500. Well, looking at this, I know for sure that this is not exactly 1/2. This comes out to be 48.4%. So it's relative in nature to the true theoretical probability, but it's not specifically that true probability. Other than that, like I said, this is just your basic refresher on probabilities. Remember that your probability must be between 0 and 1 as it is a fraction.